I love Christian Watson. The Colts coach, Jeff Saturday, won. The Eagles fumbled the ball. Cooper Kupp took a nasty fall. And apparently the Bills-Vikings game was fun. Welcome to the Mish. Alrighty, yeah, welcome into the week 11 episode of the Mish. The reference to the Bills-Viking game, obviously I heard it was a good game, but I didn't watch any of it. I saw some highlights, like that Justin Jefferson catch, the one-hander on like fourth and something. Yeah, apparently it was a good game. Don't really like to give credit to the Vikings for anything because I don't like the Vikings, obviously as a Packer fan, but yeah, that happened. So, and actually touted as the greatest playoff game ever, the Bills Chiefs. I also didn't watch any of that game because that was the game right after the Packers lost to the 49ers. And so at the time, I wasn't really in the mood for football. So I did not watch that one either. But yeah, the reason actually that I didn't watch the Vikings Bills game is because Bree ran a marathon in Madison this past weekend on Sunday, and so we were driving home. She finished at around noonish, 11 something. So yeah, it's about a 2 hour drive. So we didn't really get home until like right when the Packer game started, which was a great game by the way. But yeah, we will jump into the trades. There were a lot of trades, 5 trades this past week. As we near the trade deadline, I'm interested to see if any more will be made before the deadline passes. On a quick time check, 3:21 on Wednesday, November 16th. Somehow I always get the month wrong. But yeah, we will first crack into a beer, which this beer is a bit of a cool one. It is in collaboration with Third Space, Prairie Malt, Yakima Chief Hops, NCADV, and Blue Label. It is called 4-in-1, and it's a beer that's kind of just like, I guess I don't really know if it's giving the profits to this or it's just more awareness of like domestic violence. So that's kind of cool. It's called 1-in-4. I got it from the Hy-Vee that I mentioned last week. And also I mentioned, I guess I'll call myself out. Yeah, last week I said it was a gas station. It is a grocery store, not a gas station. So, yeah, didn't notice that obviously while I was recording. But I listened back afterwards. And yeah, and it's a IPA if you are wondering. So, cool stuff. Take a sip. Seems like it's a bit foamy, but that's okay. But yeah, we will dive into this past week's trades. And like I said, there were 5. Firstly, I traded Gabe Davis and AJ Dillon and Gabe Davis to Abby, my opponent last week, for a 2023 eighth. Just trying to get all the eighths I could. And both of those players just ended up sitting on Abby's bench. Dillon was a nice sit, 6.5 points. So, not too great. Did perform better than Patterson. But Gabe Davis did go off for 21.3 points. That would have helped you. Spoiler alert, still don't think you would have beat me, but it would have been closer. But yeah, no, obviously that helps Abby. She's getting too inconsistent, but when they're great players. And, I get another pick. So who doesn't love that for me? So next, Sam traded Austin Eckler in a 2023 fourth to State Farm for Michael Thomas, Najee Harris in a 2023 second. I kind of gave a little bit of reaction to this when the trade was made in the sleeper chat. I said that, it appears Sam is also selling out this season. I said that because I believe Austin Eckler is a very good running back. I don't know what he is on the season, but he's definitely up there. Whereas Najee Harris has been on the decline. and is, despite now he's currently hurt, but despite the injury, he's been losing work to James Warren. I believe his name is Jalen Warren. And then Michael Thomas is on IR, I think. He just got put on IR like a couple weeks ago. I'm not sure when we'll see him, but he got a second round pick. So really, I see this as Austin Eckler on a fourth for a second. So, Sam moves up 2 rounds, and State gets a pretty good running back, very good running back. So, if Michael Thomas ever comes back and plays this year, that might be fine. And then again, Najee Harris, if he ever comes back and plays this year, like you've hoped him to play, then it might work out for the players on Sam's side. But yeah, at least you got a second round pick. Next, I traded Darnell Mooney and two 2023 ninths to Derek for a 2023 seventh and a 2023 eighth. Again, I could have gotten 2 eighths, but I got that seventh because Darnell Mooney is worth it. I guess we'll see. But Derek got Mooney and the ninths, which isn't bad. 2 ninths are pretty solid. And I got pick increased to the seventh and the eighth. So, again, I think it's a win-win. I have nothing to play for this year anymore. And so I'm just trying to stock up all the really good picks. And it's looking pretty good for me on that front. So that is that trade. Next, Fiala traded a 2023 ninth to Derek for Jimmy Garoppolo and a 2023 10th. The 10th, obviously 9th and 10th, pretty close. Obviously 1 round different, and they're kind of late, but obviously you'd rather have the 9th. And then Jimmy Garoppolo can be a serviceable quarterback if you need a quarterback. So, yeah, I guess it's probably all right for both teams. Finally, the last trade that we had this past week before recording is Fiala traded Lamar Jackson, Michael Gallup, and DeAndre Swift to Bruce for Josh Allen, Chase Claypool, and Elijah Moore. Between Josh Allen and Lamar Jackson, obviously Josh is a bit banged up, but I think if both are healthy, I'd rather have Josh Allen. That said, I do believe Lamar has probably a bit of a better playoff schedule schedule the rest of the season, and also, as I mentioned, currently not injured. He is missing a few weapons though. But yeah, I guess you could say you have preferences are here, but the quarterbacks are pretty even. I think between Gallup and Chase Claypool, I would probably rather have Gallup. We don't really know what Chase Claypool is going to be on the Bears, and so that could turn out well. But it could also turn out not well. So we'll see what happens. And then Swift for Elijah Moore. I guess I would rather have Swift just for the running back. Elijah Moore hasn't really been doing much, and neither has Swift. Also, he's also been kind of dealing with injury. But I would say this is probably fairly even. If I had to give a winner, I would pick the Lamar Jackson, Michael Gallup, and DeAndre Swift side. But yeah, it is pretty close. So that was the past week's trades. We have until I believe Monday night for trades to go through. I'm not sure when. Obviously, it's this week. I just don't know exactly what time. I think it's until the matchups start. So I believe trades can actually be completed before, as long as it's accepted before the end of the Monday Night Football game. I think it's all good. So, moving on to the matchups. First up, me versus Abby. Somehow, we'll say that I won this one. Justin Fields went off QB1 on the week, and I believe the highest scoring player on the week. And I think he's like the number 1 scoring player in the last month or so. So that's pretty cool. Justin Fields, 39.38 points. Had to start Rachaad White, but he ended up getting 10.5, so not too bad from him. We'll see if he's the starter moving forward, because that's been rumored. Van Jefferson really kind of saved his day with that late touchdown, I believe, on the last play of the game, or somewhere near. 11.7 from him, and 16.75 from the Tennessee Titans defense. So very good stuff from that defense. Hopefully they don't do that well this week. On the other side, T.J. Hockenson, 11.5 points, so not too bad. There was obviously the Rough situation for Abby where you lost Cooper Kupp and Zach Ertz, both put on IR. Combined between the two of them, they didn't even crack 6 points. So that's very rough. And Cordell Patterson also didn't do great. 3 points from him. All 8 points, though, from George Pickens, 14.5. And Aaron Jones did pretty good, 22.6 from him. In the end, I ended up getting the victory, 103.03 to 85.72, which will bring us on to the next matchup. Much closer, much higher scoring. T-Corn versus State Farm, the other nagger. And you could say that me and T-Corn are kind of married too. But, yeah. 11.9 from Jamal Williams, 23 from Saquon, 38 from CeeDee Lamb. Couldn't do enough, though. Rondale Moore, 18.4 and 8.5 from the Saints defense, 13.25 from the Bills defense over there on State's side. Newly acquired Austin Eckler, 13.3, 31.5 for Christian Kirk, 17.4 for Dalton Schultz, 10.4 from Mike Evans, and 31.14 from the always great Patrick Mahomes. State Farm got the win, 144.79 to T-Corn's 135.84, which was pretty rough for T-Corn. And I believe he's currently on a 4-game losing streak. So I remember way back he was like the top team, and then all of us just been downhill. It's kind of correlating with that Breece Hall injury and the Javonte injury. I think T-Corn had Breece Hall. I don't remember. But he's got Christian Watson on his bench, so I'm sure he'll be playing him this week. Moving us on to Bruce versus Lincoln. A bit lower scoring, but also relatively close. Jalen Hurts, newly acquired quarterback for T-Corn, or Bruce, 22.8 points. So you're welcome for him. 14.1 from Nick Chubb, 21.8 from Tony Pollard. So pretty good stuff from him. Again, wasn't enough. 11.4 from Brandon Ayuk. 15.4 from Tyreek Hill. So pretty good stuff. Brian Robinson, 14.6, and very good stuff from him. Dak Prescott on the other side for Lincoln, 21.2, 19.0 from Devonta Foreman, 17.7 from Christian McCaffrey. And the rest was I guess Jeff Wilson did pretty good, 22.3. So in the end, Bruce got the victory, 114.5 to 105.045. So pretty good stuff all around there. Moving us on to Michael versus Derek. This one was, I believe, the biggest blowout of the week. 15.48 from Kirk Cousins. So even though they put up 33 points, he did kind of bad. So that's kind of funny. 0 points from Clyde Edwards-Helaire. He is not looking good. 24.8 from Stephon Diggs. 15.4 from Jawan Johnson, so not too bad. Newly acquired Darnell Mooney, 9.7. So not too bad from him. And Khalif Raymond of the Detroit Lions, 7.7. So for a Khalif Raymond type player, that's not bad. MVS, 15 points, 14.7 for Devin Singletary. Cole Kmet, 23.4, 21.1 from Amon-Ra, 27.6 for Devontae, and 23.6 for Dalvin Cook. So pretty good stuff from them. Michael got the blowout victory, 156.82 to 96.53 for Derek, which will bring us on to Sam versus Caleb. This one was low scoring and not that close. Difference of about 20. So there were still some pretty good performances. James Conner for Caleb got 23.6, 13.2 from Tyler Lockett, 15.3 from Tyler Higbee. I'm sure he'll have an increased role moving forward. And then the rest is kind of meh. Over on Sam's side, Tua had 23.4, pretty good stuff. 11 from Melvin Gordon. 9.9 from Adam Thielen. 20.1 from Travis Kelce. So good, that guy. And 14.3 from Julio Jones, scoring a touchdown finally. 104 for Sam to Caleb's 88.04, which will bring us on to Adam versus Brian. We had, let's see, hold on. There we are. Over on Adam's side, pretty good stuff from Josh Jacobs, 22.6. 6 from Curtis Samuel, not that great, and 19.1 for Chris Godwin, set 9.75 from the 49ers defense. Other than that, kind of disappointing week for Adam. You were missing a few players from bye, but yeah, it's kind of rough for you there. Which will bring us on to Brian's side, 18.36, 13.2, or 18.36. That's Aaron Rodgers we're talking about. Ken Walker, 13.2. 35.3 from Justin Jefferson, 13.3 from Foster Moreau, 20.8 from Terry McLaurin, and Raheem Mostert, 18.7. So very good stuff. Brian got the victory, 138.11 to Adams, 87.89, which will move us on to the final matchup of the week, and probably the most interesting and kind of funny matchup of the week. Over on Colin's side, this is Fiala versus Colin. I'm not sure if I said that, but over on Colin's side, 19.06 from Kenny Pickett, the bye week starter, I believe. Yeah, well, no, because Kyler is out and Deshaun Watson's still suspended, but coming back, I think, this week. So that should be fun for that situation. Jonathan Taylor finally did something of relevance. 24.3, 11.3 from Michael Pittman, the other Colt on your team. L. Robinson, 8.4. I'm sure he'll be getting some more work going forward as well. And Donovan Peoples-Jones, 14.9. So pretty good stuff over on Fiala's side. 13.1 from DK Metcalf. DeAndre Hopkins, 19.8. And 18.74 from Marcus Mariota. But I would say the most notable player in this lineup is Devonta Smith, who has 12.9, but before the last play of the game, he had something probably around 15, and then he lost a fumble, and that lost him 3 points, which gave Fiala the loss for this week, and Colin got the victory, like I said, 94.21 to Fiala's 92.64, so I've heard the horror stories about teams losing on the last play of the game. And we are lucky enough to witness it in our very own league. So how fun is that? So before we move on to the power rankings, I'm going to take a quick sip, and we will move on. Also, you can't see it, and I won't show you, but Lily, you might have heard her just there, is laying on my lap. Very warm dog. And yeah, so power rankings. Of course, I'm taking up that 14th spot again. Followed by 13, we've got Caleb, 12, Fiala, 11, Colin, 10, Lincoln, 9, T-Corn, 8, Derek, 7, Abby, 6, Michael, 5, Sam, 4, State, 3, Bruce, 2, Brian, and Adam is on top. So, moving us on to this week's matchups. First up, we've got me versus Bruce. Battle of two very good quarterbacks, Justin Fields and Jalen Hurts. Should be fun, as also I had both quarterbacks at a time. And we do have some buys that are going to have to be dealt with, and currently a few missing players as well. Currently don't have one of your defense filled, and Tyreek Hill is on bye, Bruce. So I'm sure you'll fill him up, and you'll have to pick up a defense. But and then, for me, it's just whoever I can find off the waivers is filling up my team, except for, a few good players like Dameon Pierce and the pre-mentioned Justin Fields, even though I did pick him off waivers. And I do not have any bye issues, except for Rachaad White, who actually would probably be starting for me if he was playing this week. So, I, do think Bruce has a better team. Obviously, he's 7-2. And I should be. Why does it say I'm 1-8? I should be 2-7. Doesn't really matter. But I would be picking Bruce, but that's too obvious because last week it was too obvious that it was going to be Abby, but it was me, and so I'm going to pick me. So it's kind of like a psychological thinking. You got to think about it a little bit to understand. But I would be picking me because picking Bruce is too obvious. Basically, is what I'm saying. Moving us on to Lincoln versus Fiala. Again, two pretty solid quarterbacks, Dak Prescott and Josh Allen. And then we got a couple of current and or former running backs that played for the Panthers over on Lincoln's side, which is Devonta Foreman and Christian McCaffrey. Also, Juju Smith, who is currently hurt with that brutal hit that he got with a concussion, currently questionable, so we'll see if he plays this week. Also questionable is Mark Andrews. He practiced, I believe, today on Wednesday, so we'll see if he plays. So those are a couple question marks. A couple question marks over there on Fiala's side of the ball. Also, Josh Allen, he did play this past week, but it's a new week. We'll see if he can go at it again. I assume he will, but you never know. And then Keenan Allen is still, hasn't played since week 1, is questionable. He was participating in individual drills on Wednesday, so I'll see if he plays. All in all, I do think it will be close. I do think Lincoln will win, though. So that is my pick for that matchup. Moving us on to Sam versus Michael. Again, there are a few bye players in lineups for Sam. Tua Tagovailoa and Julio Jones are on bye, and your backup quarterback Geno Smith is on bye, so Sam's going to have to pick up a new quarterback off waivers. And then over on Michael's side of the ball, he seems to be pretty in the clear. Tom Brady is on bye, but I'm not sure if you wanted to start him over your current quarterback. Tannehill, maybe you would have, but other than that, you're looking good. Michael's got some very good players: Dalvin Cook, Ramondre Stevenson, Devontae Adams, Amon-Ra St. Brown, Cole Kmet has been lighting it up lately. Devin Singletary, Cortland Sutton. Man, I'm just going to cut to the chase. I think just Michael's going to win here, and I do not think it's going to be particularly close. They always show the breakdown of what percentage. Currently, Michael has an 80% chance of winning. Obviously, Sam is missing a few players, and so that will change once he fills up the team. But I do think it will be something akin to a blowout. So, Michael, I believe, will win that matchup. Moving us on to Adam versus T-Corn. Both have held the number 1 spot in the power rankings at one point this year, and Adam currently holds that spot now. Coming off bye for Adam, very nice, I'm sure, is Joe Burrow and Joe Mixon. So I'm sure you're pretty happy about those two coming back. And going on to bye, you do have Chris Godwin, the Miami defense. So I'm not sure. Obviously, you would have been playing Godwin, but I'm not sure if you would have played the defense of Miami. You do have San Francisco plugged in there. And other than that, you had just a couple guys that were disappointing this past week. A.J. Brown being one of them. He did get hurt in that Monday night game. But, we'll see if he can bounce back. And then Lazard is currently questionable. Don't really remember him being injured. I guess it's a shoulder injury for him. So hopefully he can ball out on Thursday. So that should be fun for him. Over on T-Corn's side, struggling as of late is Justin Herbert. But he goes up against Kansas City in a Sunday night football game, which hopefully will be a fun back and forth powerhouse matchup. So, other than that, we do have Cooper Kupp. Amari Cooper. He is at Buffalo this week. At Buffalo, yes. Which, something kind of interesting, Amari Cooper's home road splits have been atrociously different. So, for example, a home game for him this past week, or the home games for him this season are 20.6, 14.4, and 23.1. Conversely, matchups that he played on the road, 1.9, 10.4, and this past week against Miami, 6.2. So it's kind of crazy how much fluctuation there is in these home road splits. And he is on the road this week. So will we see another bad matchup? Probably, honestly. So especially against Buffalo in what is, I've heard there's going to be like 3 to 6 feet of snow in Buffalo for that matchup. So that should be a lot of fun. In this matchup, I will be picking Adam, and I do think it will be a close one, which will bring us on to Brian versus Derek. Obviously, we got Aaron Rodgers. Hopefully, he can have another incredible game this week. Also in that same matchup as Aaron Rodgers, Derrick Henry. So hopefully, he doesn't have a very good matchup this week. It is snowing in Vermont, so you never know, but that's kind of what we got going on here. Damien Harris, currently dealing with injury. He wasn't inactive this past week, but we'll see if he can get back into action this week. And then just kind of like a hodgepodge of pretty decent players. Obviously, Foster Moreau and Justin Jefferson are good. Terry McLaurin has been tearing it up lately, and Chris Olave has been a bit down as of late. But we know he's a good player, so we'll see if he can kick it back up into high gear. Another Saint is on the other side. Jawan Johnson is very good. Darnell Mooney, pretty good. Devin Duvernay, the number one receiver over in Baltimore. And Mark Andrews might be out again this week, so it should be interesting to see how that works out. Deontay Johnson, obviously pretty good. Stephon Diggs, obviously pretty good. Clyde Edwards-Helaire, not that good. We'll see if he can get a point this week. And David Montgomery and Kirk Cousins will round out this lineup for Derek, with Khalil Herbert going out, which now makes that Khalil Herbert for Chris Godwin trade look even worse. David Montgomery is set to be obviously the lead back and the workhorse. So how much work he gets against Atlanta this week, and then Kirk Cousins against Dallas. We'll see how well he does. I will be picking Brian in this week's matchup, and I do not think it will be particularly close. But that's just how it goes. Moving on to State Farm versus Colin. Pretty solid quarterbacks in this matchup. Patrick Mahomes, obviously, and then Kyler Murray, currently injured. I'm not sure if he will play this week. It is very questionable in the truest sense of the word if he will play this week, so we'll see how that goes. You do have a pivot option of Kenny Pickett, and maybe if Deshaun plays. I don't think he's actually eligible. I think he's eligible to play next week. Or maybe week 13. Maybe he's eligible to practice this week and then eligible to play week 13, because I remember it was all his return will be up against the Houston Texans. So we'll see how that all works out. But you do have Kenny Pickett in the very least. Do have some good other players, though. Kenyon Drake has been good when he's been given the starting job as running back over there in Baltimore. Jonathan Taylor, obviously, we know from last year, is a very good player, but this year has been a bit underwhelming. Best game of the season this past week since week 1. So we'll see how well he can do up against a Philadelphia defense that has been pretty good. And then, just a couple of other players. Don't need to mention all of them, but they're there. Trust me. And then Austin Eckler on the other side. Miles Sanders, both good running backs. Matt Collins, the number 2 target over there in Las Vegas behind Devontae Adams, with Darren Waller and Hunter Moreau being on the IR. So I'm sure he'll get a decent amount of work. The Denver defense, though, that they're facing is pretty tough. So we'll see how well that goes. Terrace Marshall has been doing pretty well lately. So we'll see if he can keep that going. Dalton Schultz also has been doing pretty well. And Kadarius Toney, in his first true matchup this week or of the season for Kansas City, has scored 19 points. So I'm sure we'll see if he can keep that going. And Buffalo defense pretty good. In this matchup, I will be picking State Farm, and I do think this one will be close, which moves us on to another Knackers and the final matchup of the week. Caleb versus Abby. The quarterback of the player I was just talking about, Derek Carr, over on Abby's side. And we've also got Aaron Jones. Hopefully he can keep it going. Good matchup against the Titans. I'm not sure why I said good, but Deebo Samuel has been not super great as of late. Missed that 1 week in week 8, had the bye, and just came back with 7.1 points after week 7 being 9.4. So we'll see if he can turn it on. As I mentioned earlier, Zach Ertz and Cooper Kupp are currently in your lineup, Abby, and they're both on IR, so you will have to fill that. You do have Gabe Davis on your bench, who I'm sure you'll plug in, and then Hawkinson in your flex. So I'm sure you'll just move him over to tight end and then throw someone like a Sammy Watkins in there. So you definitely have options. So we'll see how well you can navigate those 2 injuries. Over on Caleb's side, James Conner has been playing pretty good lately, especially now that they got rid of Eno Benjamin, which is kind of a crazy move in my opinion, because Eno was pretty good. And the chances that they got in Arizona. Speaking of pretty good, Alvin Kamara has just kind of gone back to his old Alvin Kamara form. Well, I guess the last 2 weeks not so much, but Before that, he was on a tear. Um, but I'm sure those better days. There are still better days to come. Josh Palmer, KJ Osborne, kind of second options in their offenses. Well, maybe not Palmer, depending on if Williams and Keenan Allen will come back. But KJ Osborne for sure is behind Jefferson and Thielen, probably, maybe, but definitely Hawkinson. So Higbee, we'll see if he can get an increased role now that the aforementioned Cooper Kupp is injured. And then Naheem Hines has slowly been working into the Buffalo offense. Um, we'll see if he can actually be pretty effective because over the last 2 weeks he's scored 1.9 points. And spoiler alert, those all came from this past week. So again, a couple other players there, but not worth mentioning. I do think that this game will be won by Caleb, and much like the other matchups, a couple other matchups covered this week, I do think it will be a close one. So that is all the matchups this week, and that is this week's episode of the Mishpo. I don't know if I've ever been done by 4 o'clock, but I've been getting these things done quickly, the dockets, and I just kind of talk a bit faster. Lily is stretching. I guess I'll just show you. Let's see. Just sitting there like a goof. Yeah, so yeah, that is this week's episode of the Mishpo. I hope you all enjoyed it. And with that, thank you and thank you. All right, Lily's in the landing zone, so I'll try not to hit her, but we will flip this one on. Let's go Fiala. So close. Wait, literally so close.